3, 2, 1, 0.
Folks, it's 7 o'clock on a Monday, which means it's time for Monday Night Nerd. Thank you all for tuning in. It means so much to me, and thank you to everybody on TikTok that is tuning in. Folks, we got a heck of a show tonight. Not as big as last week, let's be honest, last week was Metallica all the way. Tonight, though, we're going to focus on something that I do a little more often than go see Metallica, and that is we're going to be talking about building your own cosplay room. And I want to talk about this topic because back in the day, there wasn't such a thing as a cosplay room. My wife and I were in a one-bedroom apartment, and I used everything available to make my cosplays, and that included breaking a couple things like a table or two, but we're going to get into that in a little bit. Folks, if you're new here, my name's Myers Corp Cosplay. I'm a cosplayer in the Southern Ontario area, and this is my podcast. We talk about movies, music, cosplay, nerdy shit, and a whole lot more. And I'm so glad you guys on TikTok and you guys on YouTube are here watching me. To start things off, as always, we jump into a little bit of newsy news, things that I have done during the week. And as I said, this week and every other week, we talk about nerdy things here on Monday Night Nerd, and this is something we don't usually talk about because, I don't know, I talk about nerdy things, so it's usually comics and stuff like that, but I'm also a sports fan. To be honest, I am a hockey fan, and congratulations to the Winnipeg Jets for last night's amazing Game 7. That was right down to the wire, but they deserve it. I can't wait to see what they do in the second round. But the thing I want to talk about tonight is something that my wife and I have been going to for the past few months, is the PWHL, the Professional Women's Hockey League. It is a new league, second season going on, and my wife and I have had half-season tickets for the Toronto Scepters. It's about an hour away from us, so we decided let's get half-season tickets, and the final game was the weekend. We do have a one-game tickets for the first playoff game Wednesday. However, I want to kind of talk about the PWHL because it's brand new. Certain people have an idea of what it is, certain people don't. It is an all-women's professional hockey league. There are 6 teams. Next year there will be 8. They have jumped to include Vancouver and Seattle as the 2 first expansion teams of the league. And I gotta say, I have been to several local hockey games. I have been to NHL games. I've been to AHL, OHL, and a whole lot more. The PWHL is some of the most fun hockey I've ever been to. Is it very female-driven and everything? 100%. But when it comes to atmosphere, when it comes to hockey, when it comes to just having fun, it is worth it. If you're a hockey fan, I highly recommend you go check it out. The Toronto Scepters are sold out almost every single game. The U.S. teams are a little less, but to be honest, it has been a great season. We're really excited to go to the playoff game this week. I hope they do good this year. If they make it to the finals, I'll be very happy. But definitely my wife and I will be going next year for another half season, maybe a full season. We don't know yet. But yeah, I really want to give a shout out to the PWHL because I know a lot of people might be sleeping on it. Some people might not be thinking about it. They are doing a hell of a job. Like the atmosphere there is so rowdy, so fun. And it's good hockey. Like, obviously not NHL hockey, not to that level, because they don't have NHL training and all that. So I'm not going to compare apples to apples because it's not apples to apples. But seriously, for the price and everything you get there, it is a heck of a time. We usually drive 3/4 of the way and then take the train in. The train's super packed. It's always fun there. Like I said, I think they're sold out almost every single game this season. I hope they do great this year, and I hope they do even better next year. Seeing the 2 new expansion teams, Vancouver and Seattle, is going to make things even better. So just wanted to give a shout out to the PWHL because they have been killing it this year, and we're super excited to be going next year. My wife is a big fan of the PWHL, so we'll definitely be checking it out next year. Now, let's jump into some real nerdy news. Folks, if you have been sleeping under a rock for the past couple months, you probably don't realize that this weekend was Thunderbolts weekend. Marvel's Thunderbolts came out on Thursday, technically Friday, and they are doing gangbusters this weekend. They are knocking it out of the park when it comes to ticket sales, when it comes to reviews from, professional reviewers, when it comes to fan response. I was there on Friday night, and I was sitting there with my big smile on my face, getting ready to see the most current Marvel movie, and I'm going to give you guys a slight spoiler review. I'm not going to give too many details because I know a bunch of you have probably not seen it yet, but I do want to give my thoughts on it without spoiling too much, but also trying, there are some things that I definitely want to point out that are positives about the movie. When it comes to the overall film, it's a great film. It's a great Marvel movie. And is it Shakespeare in the Park? And is it as good as Winter Soldier and all that? No. And I'm not comparing any Marvel movies to them anymore. Like that first bastion of Marvel movies from Iron Man to Endgame, that's its own beast. I'm done comparing anything now to that because we're never going to get that. We're never going to have the mindset that we had back then. The world is not what it is now. So I don't want to compare. This is still a fun movie. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has had some up and downs over the past few years, and I think Thunderbolts does something different, and I am so happy to see a different type of movie. You could have easily done here's a Suicide Squad team, and they're going up against a big baddie, and there's to be a big giant fight scene, and some people don't get along and all that. It's a carbon copy formula that they could do, but they change it up, and I'm so glad that they did. This movie is, I said it at the end of the movie, this is the Marvel's version of My Little Pony. It is all about friendship. It is all about mental health. It's all about coming together as a team, the feeling of loneliness with certain characters, the feeling of not feeling like they're worth anything. It is such a good movie that, again, you could have easily just done, we're all villains and we're all bad people, but we're coming together to do good against a badder baddie. Like, you could have easily done a paint-by-numbers movie, but Thunderbolts did so much more than that, and I was very happy with that. Standout characters, man. John Walker, I'm such a fan of his now. I know some people are like, Pew and Red Guardian and all that. Yes, 100%. Those characters are 100% the center of the movie. The whole father-daughter backstory is 100% in the movie. Very important. But man, John Walker's timing, John Walker's lines, I love him as a character. I enjoyed him in Winter Soldier, but I feel like he wasn't written to his potential. This is his potential. His shit talking is so fun in this, so I got to give it up to him. And yeah, if you're a fan of any of these characters, except for maybe one of them, and I know people probably have seen it based off how much screen time certain characters get in the movie, overall, you'll love all of these characters. I highly recommend you go see it if you're a Marvel fan. If you're done with Marvel and you're like, oh, I can't watch another Marvel movie, give this one a chance. Maybe don't watch it in theaters. It's going to be coming out on Disney Plus soon, so just wait, but give this one a shot. I think this might not bring you back to be, wearing the shirt and getting all excited for the next Marvel movie, but definitely give this one a shot. I think you'll enjoy yourself. Other than that, I don't want to spoil too much more because I can definitely go into a whole lot of spoilers. If you're on social media today and you search Thunderbolts, you will see a little bit of a spoiler that I didn't talk about. Other than that, the only other thing I want to talk about is RoboCop Rogue City for the PlayStation 5. I talked about it a couple episodes ago that this is now free on the PlayStation Plus. I downloaded it. I'm a big 80s fan. I'm a big 90s fan. I'm a big RoboCop fan. And I have been loving this game. I officially finished the campaign last night, and it was worth it. So much fun. It is a first-person shooter. Do you feel overpowered a bit? 100%, but guess what? You're RoboCop. You're supposed to be that way. It does get a little more challenging later on in the game, but there really wasn't too much of a struggle, and I'm fine with that. Again, you're RoboCop. Like, I shouldn't be getting taken down very easily. Very 80s, very set in the 80s, super cheesy. It does have some very cheesy side quests that I enjoy, but I could see some people being a little like, I don't know about this. There are definitely a few moments when you're walking around the police station and you'll have those people come up to you and be like, RoboCop, I can't deal with this person who's just like not being friendly with me. Can you help me? Like, I need help. Stuff like that just makes me laugh. That's like, okay, come on. This is something that I think is a little above his head, but it is funny that they have to involve RoboCop in all of these little tiny things that, like, come on. There's got to be something a little bit more worthwhile for RoboCop to do than that. But overall, it is a very fun game. I hope you guys check it out. It is free on the PlayStation Plus right now. Other than that, that's kind of it. It has been a pretty short week. I've been sick since Metallica, so it has been a just rest, revive, recharge week. We are getting into convention season, folks. We've got 2 conventions at the end of the month. We have Anime North on the May 2-4 weekend, and then the weekend right after, the first and the last weekend of May, going into June, we are going to Niagara Falls Comic-Con, volunteering as always. You can check me out in the celebrity autograph area. When it comes to Anime North, I will be there all weekend. I will technically be working. I will technically be part of the stage crew, but there will be a lot of time that I will be walking around in cosplay. I will be probably, hopefully, fingers crossed, be competing at the Saturday Night Masquerade because I want to show off Gambit. I've got a whole shtick and everything ready to go, so I'm definitely going to be there for that. Alex, in chat, good to see you, sir. Hope you are doing well. And yeah, so Anime North, Niagara Falls Comic-Con, and then a whole bunch more cons coming up in the year. But definitely, as you can see right down here, that is the new Gambit chest plate. We got a blue fireball up there. That is for Dan. And hopefully within the next, knocking on wood, a few weeks, we will have a whole bunch of stuff ready to showcase for my new cosplay stuff. But that is it, folks. We are going to get to the sponsor, and then we're going to jump into the main event. Folks, if you're still here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Folks on TikTok, I'm so glad you're still tuning in. If you want to talk about building a cosplay room and a whole lot more, hop over to YouTube, Myers Corp Cosplay. You can jump into the live chat and talk to us there. Alex, that is not the fireball I am talking about. It is not that fireball. It is fireball, like Hadouken fireball, not drinking fireball. Hey, JS is in chat from the Geeks & Co. Folks, let's do a quick pause before we jump into the sponsors. JS and the Geeks & Co. had an incredible weekend. I've seen so many photos, so many clips from their May the 4th, May the 3rd event at London Brewing Co. They knocked it out of the park. I've heard nothing but great things from them. Again, I wish I could have been there. I was wanting to, but it was the last game of the season for the PWHL, and that is my wife and I's tradition, so I had to spend my time there. But hopefully next year we can bring Mr. Dash Rendar. Maybe that time he'll be frickin' canon in the Star Wars universe. But yeah, they did a great job, folks. Go check out the Geeks & Co. on Instagram. They've got a whole bunch of stuff talking about how much they raised for, I believe, Ronald McDonald House. And yeah, they killed it this weekend. So congratulations, guys. You deserve all the success from that event. Alex says, no love for the Sith. No, because you're the Sith, and Sith suck. Duh. Folks, let's jump into the sponsor. Sponsor, as always, if you don't know, we're at episode 101. It has always been this way. The sponsor, as always, is my beautiful, loving, amazing, talented, incredible wife. She will always be my sponsor. If you sometimes come to a con, you might run into the sponsor. You'll know her because she'll have a name tag saying sponsor. Hun, you'll always be my sponsor. You push me so hard in such a great way to become a better person and a better cosplayer. Hun, I love you. You will always be my sponsor. Even when some amazing people finally, maybe someday, give me some money, they will go on the second tier. You will always be the top of the list. I love you, hun. You will always be my sponsor. Okay, let's jump into the main event, folks. We need to talk about building a cosplay room. And as I've said on the past episodes, we're going to start taking the main event. And if you can't watch it live, I completely understand. You guys got a whole bunch of stuff going on. You may tune into this later and you'll be like, oh, there's so much extra content I don't want to listen to. I completely understand. So what we're going to do is we're going to start cutting this section out, and I'm going to move it over to its own video, do a little bit of snipping, and cut out all my ands and bluffs in between. So for those watching this later on, hi, this is my podcast. For those in chat, I greatly appreciate you being here. Let's talk about building a cosplay room, because this is something I think a lot of people nowadays, I've seen a lot of kids, and I say kids like I'm that old. Jeez, I'm 37. I'm sorry, I'm taking my socks off right now because it's bloody warm in here. Let's talk about building a cosplay room, because when I first started cosplaying back in around 2009, 2010, I didn't have the funds, obviously, because this wasn't even something I was really, didn't think it would become a thing. I just was like, I want to build a costume. So there were definitely some things that I learned, things that I purchased that I was like, I'm definitely going to need this, and I never did. There's a couple things that I was like, I don't need that, and I really did. So I really want to talk about what I think some of the most important things you are going to need if you're building a cosplay room. And this may be some things that you have already and you may want to upgrade, or you may just, not have thought of stuff like that. These are going to be These aren't going to be super specific, because I don't want to go into just foam, because there's a lot of people like Pretty Nerdy Crystal who just joined us late, 7 o'clock every week. I don't want to focus just on foam, because there's some people like Crystal who are new to foam but are more of a seamstress, and there's people who do more 3D printing, like Mr. JS, also does foam, but does some 3D printing. So I want to keep this kind of vague, because there are things, I think these things for the most part cover all of those things, because I could just sit here and be like, get a good sewing machine. Duh, obvious. So let's jump into the main thing, and that is this big bloody thing behind me that weighs 10,000 pounds. And this is about the 5th version, I think, of this, and that is a table. You want to have a table. This is important, because when I first started cosplaying, we lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. So we did not have a whole ton of space like we do now in the house where I can have my own cosplay area. So it was kind of just throw the foam down, try and figure out where to do this stuff, which became the kitchen table. And unlike most people, we had a glass kitchen table, which by the time we were done and we left the apartment, we left the table because there was just slash marks all over the glass, and we didn't want to bring it with us because it was destroyed by that point. So what do you need in a table? Well, size is definitely going to matter. There are many, kind of like what I'm working with here, and I know you guys can't see it, but I sort of have like an L setup in the corner of my room, and the space is, like, the table's not really that deep. It works for a computer. It doesn't really work for cosplay, though, because you're going to have to lay a bunch of materials out. So I think that one is about 3 feet deep and about 4.5, 5 long. I'd like it to go a little bigger. You can kind of tell I've made a makeshift L over here with a little bit of extra plank wood. That is my advice, is that there are tons of tables you can buy. You can buy from IKEA. That will be a store that I mentioned 100 times tonight, so keep that in mind. I would say DIY your table if you have the skills, because the top of this table is the same table I've had since I started, but we bought legs and stuff like that from IKEA when we bought the table, and it just didn't work for me. One of the things that I did, I think it was 2 years ago, was, well, I built all the wood frame to house all the foam, but the biggest thing is, you can tell right there, where's my finger? Right there, is I added some extra extensions to raise it up. The table used to be that low. Now I raised it up to there. The reason is not for space under there. It's because I used to have this chair, or the old version of it, over there, and I would slide it back and forth. The problem is, I'm a kid of the 90s, and I have terrible, terrible posture. That really started to affect my back, because I would be hunched over working on stuff, and I'd be in so much pain by the time I was done. So now I've made myself a makeshift standing desk, and I kind of recommend you guys do that too, because after you spend a couple hours on this thing, you're gonna start doing this. It's just the way you yourself. I understand that not everybody has that's just more for, I've got like a little paint station, I got a little drawing station, stuff like that. That can be any height. But for your main table, try and get it so you're comfortable standing, because otherwise, yeah, you're going to start doing this. If you don't have a table, if you can't make your own and you don't have your own room and you need to use the kitchen table like I did when I first started, I recommend a self-healing mat. You will probably find you can find these at you can find them at Princess Auto, you can find them at Fabricland in Canada, a whole bunch of different places. What these are, and I've talked about them in the past, they are a green mat. You can kind of see it up there. It will absorb all the cuts that you do on it with X-Acto blades, or if you're using a rotary cutter, if you're cutting fabric. That is a lifesaver. It will save your table. If you can't find it and you don't know where to look for one, go down to Home Depot, Lowe's, Rona, whatever you want, and pick up a thin sheet of plywood as a bare minimum to keep your table safe. Usually those stores will cut it for you, so if you find out how big your table is, ask them to cut it to that size so you can transport it home. But yeah, I would say build your own table if you can, DIY it with IKEA pieces, or just DIY it and do it that way. Len Mills too. Michael's but expensive. Yeah, Alex in chat says Michael's but expensive. Agreed. I try not to go to Michael's as much as possible, only because of the price. Fabricland's not too bad. They usually have some pretty good deals on. Princess Auto is the cheapest. I don't know why they have it there, but they have it in like their little knickknack section, and it's probably like $25 for a good sheet like that. So that's my obvious the place where I would send people. Pretty Nerdy Crystal, is it raining and windy here? I don't think so. It's kind of been black all day. I'll know when it's raining and stuff, because I will have to pause this for a quick second, because my dog will be running up here because she doesn't like the rain and the wind. But I did tell Alexa to put on relaxing music, so she might actually survive if there is any. So starting off with the table, that's number one. When you're getting a little more specific, you're going to need cutting utensils. That is going to be X-Acto knives. That is going to be, like I said, rotary cutters, which are the plastic pieces with a metal circle on it, and that will help you roll across fabric. I have those. I also have X-Acto knives. No matter what you're going to be making, whether it's 3D printing, whether it's going to be foam, whether it's fabric, you're going to need cutting materials. So rotary cutters, X-Acto knives, you can get usually two different sizes. You can get thick ones, you can get thin ones. Both are good to have. I would suggest if you can only afford one, get one and get the thick one, because the thin one is mostly used for if you're wanting to do angle cuts and such like that. Thick one is the one you're going to have to get through the most material. It's going to give you the most weight, the best cut. Again, try and get both. Crystal in chat says fabric scissors that you don't use for anything else, or we will be hurt. Yeah, that is a big one. If you're cutting fabric scissors is good. Spoilers, I don't have fabric scissors. I have a box cutter that we got at 2 box cutters there that we got from working at Toys R Us. And when I was at my favorite store, Crazy Bins, someone had a box of X-Acto blades and I bought it. So I've got a whole container of X-Acto blades. It's the only thing I cut fabric with. I don't have fabric scissors for that reason, because they always end up getting destroyed. I don't know how, because I have a specific sewing kit that has sewing stuff in it, and that's sort of my general scissors. I've gone through 3 pairs where I pulled them out and been like, these are dull, these are crap. So I don't know. But yeah, definitely needing some cutting material, whether it's, like I said, X-Acto knives, rotary tools, fabric scissors, something like that. The next thing, adhesives. You're going to need some kind of adhesives. These are going to be your contact cements, your hot glues, your super glues. Sewing, you're going to need fabric. You're going to need thread and needles. Something that is going to hold your materials together. If you're starting out in foam, just stick with super glue or hot glue. Don't go into contact cement yet. Get comfortable with using hot glue. It's regularly available. You can buy the guns for dirt cheap. You can buy the sticks for dirt cheap. Super glue, if you're going to be doing little tiny bead work and such like that, that's the only time I would use that. If you start to get into your bigger builds, then I would say use contact cement. If I could keep with hot glue, I would, but the problem is it just gets crummy in the summer. Because summer's hot, it will screw up your bond and you will lose your bond on your materials. So contact cement's great, but as I've said many times in the past, you need to be properly using a respirator. You need to be having an open window and etc. Saphira Cosplay is in the house. You're always busy. That's why. You're probably on TikTok like I am, and you're probably talking about building a new costume, like a stormtrooper costume I saw you working on. Yeah, so you can get tons of different ones. Pretty Nerdy Crystal mentions in chat. You can get fabric glue. You can get E6000s. You can get all those things. I got 3. Hot glue, super glue, contact cement. Other than that, it gets really fancy, and it doesn't really matter to me. I'm allergic to sleep. I can tell. Because there have been times where I'm going to bed at 11 and I know you're full on streaming and it's not like, I'm getting ready to pack it in. No, you're like, I got 3 hours on me. You're good. I don't know how you do it. Let's jump into the next thing. You're going to need sanding tools. Something sanding wise, and this is more obviously not for sewing, but this is important for foam and 3D printing. You're going to want to make sure to have some type of sanding tool. If you're using foam, you're going to want something that is a rotary tool, because the rotary tool is going to help you get your edges, all those things are going to be nice and smooth. Mine is hanging there right now. If you can't tell because of the logos in the perfect spot, I'm just pointing to the logo at this point. I do have an extra extension. This is something that is not necessary. A regular rotary tool will do you absolutely fine. You can usually get them in packages on Amazon, at Canadian Tire, Home Depot, etc. It will give you the rotary tool. It'll give you a ton of bits for it. Test them out. Buy a big roll of foam like that and just start sanding. Just use the bits, test them out, see what each one of them does, and then you'll know when you go into your cosplay which one you're going to need for what project. When it comes to 3D printing, though, that's a totally different type of sanding. You can just buy your sanding paper. 100% easy, always available. You can find it anywhere. However, if you want to speed up the process a bit, and it has taken me a long time to realize this, get yourself one of those little mouse sanders, those handheld sanders. It will save you a ton of time. I have one outside in my garage. The problem is I don't usually bring it up here because it makes a ton of mess, because shit just goes everywhere and I don't want to destroy my room with dust and sand and all that. But it does speed up the process. You can usually get them, like I said, at every type of home renovation store. They are a great thing to just have for your house, but it also helps you with cosplay. That is something that is going to, that I do want to point out here, and I'm probably going to clip this and put it as its own video. A lot of these things that you're going to buy for your cosplay room will also double in home improvement stuff. Now, let me explain. You will obviously need things like X-Acto knives in a home or in an apartment, wherever you're living. Adhesives come in handy. Like, it really does. It is nice to have things like contact cement, hot glue, super glue. If you're in the Ontario area and you were around last week when it was really, really windy, there is a spot out in front of my house where a piece of siding was installed really bad. And every time there is a giant windstorm, it whips off and it falls on the ground, and I have to pull my ladder out, climb up, because I'm the second floor up right now, and knock it back in with nails. But I also put a line of contact cement on that thing and contact cement it back on so it lasts another season. If I wasn't a cosplayer, I wouldn't have contact cement regularly laying around. When it came to staying at my apartment with my wife, we had a mouse problem. Sadly, most apartments do. And we could not figure out a way to plug the one hole that they were coming into. It was sort of under in the corner of the cabinet. And we put tons of different things in there, and they always ate through it. However, I had started using Warbler at that point. So what I did was got a hunk of Warbler, heated it up so it was malleable, shoved it in the hole, and we never had a mouse problem after that. So there are things around your house that you'll be able to help with sanding. It's nice to have a little Dremel or a little hand sander, because like last weekend I was doing a whole bunch of filling in nail holes and screw holes in my living room because we were changing up the layout. It's nice having that mouse sander, and now I can use it for 3D printing. So stuff like that, you might be able to sort of Frankenstein it in your head to go, this might help fix a problem that I got here in the house. So just want to point that out, that these things are not just for cosplay. Next, and someone mentioned this in the story that I posted earlier today, and we will definitely bring those answers up later. Rulers and measuring tape. This is across the board. You will use this in foam. You'll use this in 3D printing. You will definitely use this in your sewing as well. When it comes to rulers, there are many different types. I highly, highly, highly recommend you get a metal one. Do you need a meter long one? Maybe, depending on what you're using it for. I have a metal L ruler that I'm using a lot of, because there's a lot of times when I have to cut something at a perfect 90-degree angle, and if I just eyeball it with a ruler, I know I'm going to be off, so I found a metal one. Why specifically metal? Because you're probably going to be laying that down and using your knife against it. Anything wood, anything plastic, there's a very good chance that when you're pushing your knife against the ruler, you will probably cut into the ruler. I've lost 3 rulers because of that. So if you can, pick yourself up a metal one. When it comes to using a measuring tape, you're going to use that for different things like sewing. You're going to use that for making sure your patterns and stuff fit. Another thing that I recently downloaded and 3D printed for measuring are these calipers. This is very good for 3D printing. You can find these on ThinkGeek. I cannot remember the individual that posted this file, but what you will be doing is you will be measuring things like your head, holding that putting it against a ruler, seeing what the diameter is, and then you can size your 3D prints properly. Very important. I am now 2 years into my 3D printing career, and this is the first time I've printed these, and they're already coming in handy because I'm printing stuff for my wife, a mask that she is going to be debuting at Anime North. Yes, my wife is going to be cosplaying at Anime North. Hopefully everything works. But yeah, so these are very important. So I would highly recommend getting these for measuring. But yeah, any measuring is going to be important for any type of cosplay. There are also foldable rulers. I don't know. No, I can't find it. There are plastic ones that sort of have grooves, and you can use those similar to measuring tape. They're usually not obviously as long, but they still work. Saphira says one of us. Man, she cosplayed before she met me, and we've been together 13 years. She's old school. She stopped when I started, so she has been one of us before a long time ago. Don't forget foam heads or wig heads. Yeah, foam heads are really important. We're going to talk more about that a little bit later with one of the last points that I'm going to bring up. But yes, wig heads and stuff like that are very important. When it comes to things like sanding and adhesives and all that, you want good ventilation and making sure you're using your PPE correctly. That fan right there cost me $30 at Walmart. $30 for that double fan. That does not suck air in, that sucks air out. That window goes up and open, and that sucks all the fumes and all of the junk outside onto my car. Shh, we don't tell the wife that. But yeah, that is the thing that makes this room way better than it could be. PPE, haha. Yeah, exactly. And that is the problem. As Crystal says in chat, PPE, aha, oops. Yeah, agreed. We've got gloves over, that's how fingers work. We got gloves over there. I think I've got I've got 4 boxes of vinyl gloves. I've got respirator masks outside. I've got the window. I've got the fan. I've got all that stuff to help with everything because I am using a ton of contact cement with my foam cosplays, and that stuff is brutal to take in. Also, where is it? The can's way over there. Actually, there it is. Instead of Plasti Dip for sealing your cosplay foam, which is kind of the one that everyone uses, I have been using Gorilla Waterproof and Patch Seal spray foam or spray latex rubber. That stuff works so good. It takes 1 to maybe 2 coats. I can usually get it in 1, and it is thick. It dries fast. It is so good. However, that stuff has fumes for days, and I'm not saying fumes for days as an analogy. I'm saying that thing offshoots fumes for about 2 days. I sprayed that thing 2 days ago, and I can still kind of smell it. And I've had that outside. I just brought it in before the podcast. So that stuff is really good, but if you use it indoors, you really got to make sure to keep your place ventilated. Contact cement is the exact same way. You need to make sure that you are using ventilation and wearing a respirator. Saphir Cosplay says, if you have access to a deal surplus store, you can get a big box of nitrile gloves pretty cheap. Yes, 100%. You are going to need gloves. You're going to, even if you don't get the full can scarecrow respirator, even just a dust mask is so good for when you're dealing with foam. Like I said, I was working on something for my wife's cosplay, and I haven't really needed to sand down foam that much, but I was sanding it over the weekend, and man, I forgot how much of a pain that is if you're not wearing a mask. I did it for about 2 minutes and was like, nope, going to the garage, getting a mask, because stuff goes everywhere. So any respirator, any mask, and some well-ventilated areas is most important. If you can do it outside and, spray your sprays and all that, please do it. I do understand, and if JS is in the chat, I know he's had problems with this. I've had problems with this. This is Canadian weather. The cold and the damp sucks for cosplay. So I have a little cardboard box there that I do the little stuff, but yeah, even the big stuff I got to bring outside, which it's just going to take, hopefully, longer to dry. It doesn't ruin anything. Next is these things right over here. You're going to need storage. You're going to need a storage bin, storage layout. I got a little one up here. Again, IKEA is good. IKEA is important. And this is important. You're not going to always have to buy brand new from IKEA. If you go to IKEA, most of them now have a second life section, which is basically their return section. You can find tops of tables. You can find little storage units. Storage units may have a ding in them. It might be missing one drawer, or there might be something slightly wrong with it, but you can get it at a pretty darn good discount. So, highly, highly recommend going to IKEA and getting some storage like that to store certain materials. This is something that is just going to take time. It is going to take time to kind of get your layout for what you need and how you want things laid out. Nerdy Crystal in chat, again, thrift, lots of dressers, etc. I've got a dresser right there. It's full of other stuff. It's not full of cosplay. But yes, again, this is something that you are going to mess up. You are going to buy way more storage than you need. You are going to buy things that you're like, I need this for that. You don't. But the only way you're going to know that is by trying it. Like, I wanted to start doing my own patterns. So I was going to do the cellophane and then duct tape over top. So I was like, well, I need something to easily pull cellophane out so I can start wrapping my body. Behind my Metallica stuff is a dispenser for that. And I was like, cool, I could put my my paper towels in there. I could put all this stuff. I've never used it once. And I'm probably going to donate it, because it's just not something I need. I've gone through so many storage bins. I've gone through so many storage layouts. It's just something you're going to have to work with. There are going to be things, and that's another reason why I say, like people are saying in chat, thrift. And if you're going to IKEA, pick up the used stuff, because you don't know what you're going to need and you don't know what's going to work best for you. I've got a storage thing there, and I got another one over there, and I've got that little one up there with all the little junk, and I've got totes down on the bottom for foam. You're just gonna have to figure out what works best for you, but you're going to need it. So kind of figure out a way to lay things out where you can put that type of stuff. Another big one, and you can kind of see it up there. You can see it up. You can't really see it up there, but you can definitely see it up above me. And that is lighting. Lighting is so important when it comes to cosplay. Saphira in chat, if you have ADHD like me, try and get clear storage. You can see what you already have and not overspend. You don't need ADHD to feel that way. That is just, I think that's just cosplay. That video, what was that video that was out like a year ago of that guy being like, go to the store, pick up a bottle of hoisin sauce, come home, find out you already have a bottle. Like, that's cosplaying. That is cosplaying to a T. There's been so many times where I'm like, oh, I needed this. Oh, I already had it. It's just in that drawer that I didn't look in. Yeah, it happens. It's not just you. Lighting, super important. Super important. This is another thing that is going to sort of take you maybe a couple tries to figure out. I recommend 2 to 3 lights, if possible, in this way. So I've got one sort of arm light there, and I got one on the other side, and they're kind of shooting at 2 angles on the table. Why is that? Well, usually when you're doing something, you're usually over top of it. And if you just have a light over top of you, you're going to be shadowing whatever you're working on. Or if you're too far back, you're not going to be able to see too much into it. I recommend 2. I've seen people do other versions of it. I've seen people sort of like the way I have this set up, where I have a ring light right here sort of pointing down and on an angle. You can do that. I personally like having the 2 lights like that, because then I can sort of angle them, drop them down a bit if I need to see something at a specific angle and a clear vision. I can also spin that one over top of the box while I'm drying things to see how that looks. You're going to have to figure that out. Obviously, if all you can get is 1 light, one's better than nothing. You can obviously use your ceiling light, but I would recommend just at least having a specific light for your table or area, because you're going to need to see things up close. You're going to have to see tiny details. So highly recommend 2, but if you can only get 1, one's better than nothing. That, nope, finger works. There it is. iPad. I live in darkness. Wow. I live in darkness, says Crystal. How emo of you. How 2003 emo of you. References. You're going to want reference material to work on your cosplays. This is going to include screenshots. This is going to include videos. This is going to include high detailed pictures. Anything you're going to need like that. I recommend maybe, again, this is whatever works for you, either an area on your wall somewhere where you can easily see reference materials, whether it's a bulletin board, whether it's, I don't know what else you do. Personally, I have an iPad. Someone gifted me an old iPad, which doesn't really work that well, but it works for what it needs to be, and that is just getting your cosplay reference photos. It works with Google, and I don't have much else on that. Actually, I'm going to give a quick shout out. Give me 1 second. This is important, especially if you're a cosplayer. There, you all saw my shorts. I hope you're happy with that. This does have one other thing on here, and I kind of want to give it a shout because it's actually I think it's on here. I think it's available for another month or another week. So, Alex says magnifying light. Okay, if you need a magnifying light, you need a magnifying light. If you guys don't know about a group, company, I don't know what you want to call them, Humble Bundle. This is a group that will get a group of items, either video games, software, books, and a whole bunch of other stuff, and they will do bundles for an extremely discounted price, and part of your purchase goes towards helping a charity. Now, the reason I bring this up is because they once a year, I think about once a year, they do a cosplay Humble Bundle. And I have been watching these for the past 3 years, and I have been buying them for the past 3 years. Every year they have one, and it's got a whole bunch of books, and it's got a whole bunch of patterns. And I'm telling you this because, again, it's only on for about another week, but because I have been collecting, I now have a whole bunch of cosplay books that I can easily go through for references if I ever run into an issue. So we've got some from Kimpatsu, we've got ones from Kamui, we've got just Level Up Your Cosplay, there's ones on sewing, there's Foamsmith ones, there's also a whole bunch of patterns. So if you're a cosplayer, check out humblebundle.com. There's a cosplay section that has a thing right now. I think you get like 40 things. I think there's 30 books and 10 patterns for like $25. So I highly recommend you go check that out. But as I was saying before I sidetracked into that, that is kind of what I'm using my iPad for, is reference material by pulling up on Google, but also having books and stuff on there for cosplay in case I need to reference them for maybe a skill that I'm not too sure of. But yes, you're definitely going to want something like that. Like I have the computer here and I have the desk there. I could easily jump back and forth, but for convenience, having it all right in front of me is perfect. And last of all, and I think this is one that some people skip, some people do, but I don't think they really do it enough. And that is a completed project section where you showcase your cosplays or things that you've built. Now, you can't really tell in the shot right now, but up above on that top shelf is my portal gun, and across there is a bunch of helmets that I've made. This is really important because I think there's a lot of cosplayers, and honestly, I've talked to a few of them who've said this, that they kind of forget what they've done. And they're kind of so next one. And they don't stop and sit and go, man, I've built a ton of stuff. I've done things that a lot of cosplayers may be envious of. And they may be like, man, I wish I could do that. Crystal in chat, mine lives in bins crumpled up. Yeah, and I think you should showcase it a little more. You know, your stuff's big, so I get that of like, you got big gowns and stuff. But like, it is so nice to, I think it would help a lot of people by just sort of walking in and kind of going, man, I've done a lot. And I'm going to show you I have my stuff set up, but I also built this board last year, and I'm using it this year a lot. And I want to show you guys what I've been doing, because I think this would be a great idea for you guys when you're building your room. So I got a board here, and I'm going to try and do this so you can all see. So I've got cosplays of 2025, and I've got my goals, and I've got my completed items. So these are the things that I want to work on. I want to update Green Lantern. I want to fix my sleeves on Dan. I'm working on the new Ghost Rider head. I'm working on the Fireball for Dan. I want to fix Luigi's vacuum because it broke. And I want to upgrade a new cosplay that I don't want to talk about yet because I haven't told anybody. But what I've done already is I've updated my Gambit cosplay, and I'm still doing it. I've built a brand new Portal cosplay. I've finished new shoulders and wrists for Ghost Rider, and I made a new badge. And most importantly, my wife, which I was going to put something similar to this, progress over perfection. And I wrote this for myself. Take progress photos and videos. If you don't get it all done, that's okay. 2025 is your year. I think that's a really good idea for anyone out there wanting to have something there that reminds them of what they've worked on and what they've completed. Because there was a time when I was just motoring through it. I was, okay, I'm on the next cosplay, next one. And I didn't really get an opportunity to sit down and evaluate. Man, I've done a lot in just 1 year. And I feel like a lot of us we overemphasize how much we've done in a lifetime and underestimate how much we've done in a day. Like, you did a lot in 1 day. Like, those days are going to add up. And we're like, man, I haven't done anything in 6 months. Man, you've done a lot more than you probably think. And that is also including messing up a bunch of times, because that's going to happen. So even if you want to put up there like attempted this, attempted that, that's still a skill and that's still learning. So I'm so happy I got this whiteboard. I'm so happy that I wrote it this way. And I think a lot of people, I'm not saying you got to do what I got to do, what I'm doing, but I think it would make people's mental health and enjoyment of cosplay a little more if you actually wrote down, these are the things I want to do, and this is what I've completed. And hey, If I don't get it done, it's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world, folks. I've said this to a couple cosplayers who have talked to me in private, and I want to say it here. I'm not going to say who I've talked to. But folks, none of us are Taylor Swift. There ain't nobody watching our social media going, can't wait to see what Myers Corp does. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen, and that's fine. I'm good with that. That allows me to do everything at my own pace. There isn't anybody waiting for me to debut a cosplay. This is everybody's encouraging me. There's people who are excited, but there's nobody who's going to be losing their crap if I go, man, I didn't get that cosplay done. They're probably going to go, yeah, that's okay. I can't wait to see when it is done. That's the way people really are. So having these things up here, seeing what you've built, it helps you. I'm telling you it does. It's helped me, and I think it'll help you guys too. So that's kind of it. So let's quickly go through the list, and then I want to talk about what people said they need more of in their rooms. So we want to make sure you got a good table, or at least a cutting mat, or something you can cut on that isn't a kitchen table. You're going to have cutting utensils. You're going to have scissors. You're going to have knives. You're going to have blades, adhesives, contact cement, hot glue, super glue, stuff like that. Sanding tools, rotary tools for your foam, little mouse sanders and such for 3D printing, or just sandpaper. Rulers, measuring tape, things that'll measure, things that'll make sure you have the right sizing. Respirators, ventilation, things that are going to be PPE and above, making sure that you are cosplaying safe. Storage bins, shelves, stuff like that can store all your cosplay stuff so you're not just laying it everywhere. Yes, I'm well aware how dirty that table is, and yes, I do have to clean it. Good lighting. You're going to need lighting that is well lit so you can see details of all the things you're working on. A reference wall or screen so you can keep track of any cosplays you're working on, and you can see details so you can make sure you're doing everything that you want to do for your cosplays. And last, completed projects. A reminder of how good of a cosplayer you are. Even if it's only one small thing, it'll show you that you're making steps towards becoming a better cosplayer. Thank you all for joining. One last thing before we go. I posted on my Instagram earlier today, what do people need in their cosplay rooms? And there are a couple that stand out as, boy, I wish. First of all, meter sticks and self-healing mats. We talked about both of those earlier. It will change your cosplay. It'll make things so much easier. An entire cosplay room. Agreed. I am in a very, very good situation where I have a room here that I build. I also work here, but then I also have another room on the other side of this wall that is a storage room that holds all my cosplays and a whole bunch of other stuff. But yes, having a room is very, very important. Someone said an Auron cosplay, actually having a full cosplay, 100%. I think that would make our lives so much easier if you could just snap your fingers and have a cosplay ready to go. That'd make things a whole lot easier. Not as fun, because I enjoy building, but sometimes you just want to have it done. And lastly, the one that stood out, and boy, if there was a way to make this happen, a lifetime supply of contact cement. Wow. I could not say anything more. That is so important. That is so needed. I so could use a lifetime supply of contact cement where I could just keep going back and it's always full. I don't have to worry about picking up new stuff. It'd be so nice. Folks, thank you all for tuning in. It means a lot to me. If you're still here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We are going to be back next week. What do we have on tap? Let me check my notes. What do we have on tap for episode 102? We are going to be... Actually, I got a couple. I haven't got one yet. We actually have a couple different ideas. I might have to look into that. Maybe we'll do wrestling next week. Maybe wrestling? We might do wrestling. We might do some comic stuff. I got a couple ideas. We'll see. But folks, I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you so much for tuning in. It means so much that you spent some time with me tonight. And if you can't hit that like button, hit that subscribe button and all that. I'm going to let you guys go. Have a good night, folks. We will see you all very, very soon. Take care, folks. See ya. Hey, thanks for watching Monday Night Nerd. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the subscribe button, like this content, and follow on social media for even more nerdy fun. See you soon.